story to tell you. Nearly 10 years ago, I got an email from a woman I'd known online for close to, 15 years, if my mental math isn't, as our British friends would call it, isn't mental. I'd long admired and respected Anne. So when she invited me to join her and a group of local writers on their annual writing retreat several months away, I jumped at it. First, because the chance to meet someone I so loved and respected in person, yeah. Can I just interject here how glad I am that fangirling isn't really part of my character? I'd have been in trouble if it were. Second, the way she described how the retreat worked, it spoke to something deep within me. Although I have to confess something. Going to a retreat at a place known as the barn sounded a bit ominous. I had conflicting images in my mind. Was it a converted Dutch-style barn broken into meeting rooms downstairs and then like a sleeping quarters area upstairs? Was it an old weathered farm barn that had been restyled as a chic venue and the barn part was just like their semi-open air chapel? I had a lot of ideas. But considering how inexpensive the retreat is, only my complete trust in Anne would have had me packing my bags, spending 2 travel days to get there, and then another 2 to get home, so that I could spend 4 days writing. Let's face it, the math doesn't make sense, does it? You arrive at the bottom of a hill, and the coordinator picks you up in a bobcat, an all-terrain cart. Now, before I get into this amazing place, I have to say that even more wonderful than the barn itself, the ladies at the Getaway to Write retreats are some of the most amazing women I've ever met. They become more than friends. They've become a mini family within God's family. We have prayed and cried over everything from bad years to, well, just bad stuff, period. They were there with me the year I didn't get to go because I was needed in Missouri instead. I met the woman who would become my fabulous narrator, Krista Del Sorbo, that first day, and I still smile when I remember her teaching me the proper pronunciation of Asheville. For those outside the South, you swallow that I. In Asheville, no, it's Vull, not Ville. But it all began when Pam picked me up at the base of the hill and welcomed me as if being Anne's friend meant I was okay by her. We'll get to more of that in a minute. Like I said, I had no idea what to expect from the barn, but a lodge in the North Carolina mountains, a lodge that both looks ripped from an 80s country sampler magazine and not at all outdated or tacky at the same time. Don't even ask how that's possible, but it's a thing, and it's amazing. Anyway, that lodge was not what I imagined. Anne had left a small gift in my room, this little heart. Oh man, this heart. I always have it at my desk where I can see it. If threads were prayers, this thing would be 1,000 count cloth from every time I look at it and I pray for her. It's one of my greatest treasures, and as silly as it probably sounds, if my laptop were near it and I were rushing to grab the laptop on the way out of the door in a fire, I'd be grabbing that heart at the same time. Maybe I'm a terrible person, but I live in a country where I can replace my Bible easily. I can't replace that little bit of Anne. took a hike that first day, walked up to see different places around the barn. There's more to it than the main lodge. There are cabins and cottages and a huge sleeping porch, and I don't know what all is up there. A tiny creek trickles down on a couple of sides, but the owners haven't just created this little retreat center and then let it be. They really put so much into every bit of it every year. I always see new flowers growing, new seasonal decor, or at least changed decor. And it seems like every year something major somewhere has changed. A new couch in this room, tables in the other. There's just always something different. I've often been asked why I fly all the way across the country to spend 4 days writing when I could get more done at home. And I've had a hard time putting it into words. But this room, every time I walk into this room, something happens deep inside. It's as if I've been given the space to feel Jesus come up to me and remove a huge burden I didn't even know I was carrying. It's almost as if I can hear him say, and remember, this is all just a feeling. It's not what he's doing, okay? But it's almost as if I can hear him say, ready to let me have that again? I don't know how I start pulling back all those things and lugging them around again, or even when. But I do know the moment they all go away. It's when I sit on that couch, when I close my eyes, when I thank the Lord for another year in this amazing place, for another chance to breathe. While the barn is a productive place for me, I've written the bulk of quite a few books there. A Bird Died was actually the first. I'd go even if I couldn't write a word because of the women who have become an indispensable part of my life. The things I've learned from these amazing godly women would fill books. But I think the most important lesson I learned from Anne. You'd think that her inviting me would have been enough to inspire confidence that she liked me. And it did. However, there's a big difference between enjoying someone on a message board where we first met and got to know each other and in person, all those flaws hanging around in the get-to-know-you-ness. Yeah. I'm usually a fairly confident person. I don't have a lot of insecurities. But if you knew Anne, she's just that beautiful blend of intelligent, even elegant, what my mother would call classy, without any hint of pretension or snobbery. She's authentic and she's amazing, okay? And for reasons I still can't quite fathom sometimes, she likes me. And that's where the lesson comes in. I didn't realize how self-deprecating I had become about how long-suffering she was to put up with me until I'd said something that actually made her feel bad, as if she'd caused me to be insecure about being around her, and nothing could have been farther from the truth. I don't think it was anything she said, but the entire experience, which you have to understand, she probably doesn't even remember it was that minor of a moment. It was just something said in passing, and it was over in a moment. We're just neither one of us very dramatic people. But anyway, that experience taught me something. When someone even acts as if they enjoy your company, hinting, saying, or behaving as if it couldn't be so, is essentially implying that person is lying. I would have defended Anne's integrity to whatever degree I needed to, and yet my actions questioned it. I had no clue I was doing that, mind you, but this is the reality. So you could say that Anne's gift of friendship taught me about being a friend. I think I've learned that friendship comes with strings, but they're heartstrings, and I'm grateful for hers. Look, every time I enter the barn and the ladies greet me, all acting, no, see what I mean? No, being glad to see me, it always feels a little bit too good to be true. I never went to the typical American high school, junior high thing. I went to small little Christian schools where all the grades were in one place together, but I've seen the movies. That whole cool girls table, yeah, that's how it feels. When I go to the barn, I feel like I've been invited to the cool girls table. And it really was that way the first time I walked in those doors. And isn't that how it should be when the Lord's people gather? I know it isn't yet. Someday maybe. But it always feels like it to me every time a new person comes to the retreat at the barn. So yes, why I go to the barn every year, why I spend as much time traveling as I do actually writing, it's most likely this wonderful group of women I'm honored to call friends. But I wouldn't be a bit surprised to discover that it's also just the barn.